Now that we have a basic first page, let's expand a bit. Did you happen to notice that just by creating a file called index.view in the pages folder, the homepage just worked? We didn't have to muck around with view router at all. How did that happen? Well, by default, Nuxt handles routing through convention. Whenever you do a build, Nuxt looks through the pages folder and builds the view router file and places it in the .nuxt folder. This is the folder that gets built whenever you use server-side rendering, which your dev environment does. Go ahead and expand the .nuxt folder. Open the router.js file. Now, you don't have to understand any of this, but just notice the import index.view part. That's the homepage you just created. By default, Nuxt uses Webpack to lazy load pages client side for you. This is a huge performance gain because now the browser doesn't have to load the entire site on the first hit. The pages folder actually has another hidden superpower. It can build dynamic routes too. Dynamic route is a URL where some of the parts are unknown. Whenever Nuxt sees an underscore in a file or folder, it will take that value and use it as a name placeholder in the URL. Under Pages, create a new folder called Home. Under that, create a file called underscore id.view. Go back to our router file. Notice that just by creating a new file, Nuxt automatically regenerated our router file. Scroll down a bit to the routes array. Nuxt used our file name for the dynamic property in the route. That's pretty slick. Let's see how we can use this property in our page component. Go back to your id.v file, and let's start with the template section. Fill that with a div and the words My Home. Next, let's start a script section. And just like the home page, import our home's data file. Next, create a default export object. And save. Let's go back to our browser. Let's update the URL and add a/home/a for the new route we just created. Great, we see My Home. Next, inside your default export, create a method called created. You may recognize this as a standard view lifecycle hook. It gets ran when the component is created. In Nuxt, this is ran both on server and on the client on the first page view, and only client side on any further navigation. Next, we need to take the parameter we just passed to this page, in our case the letter A, and find the corresponding home with that ID. Since Nuxt uses view router under the hood, we have access to this $router for the full router instance, as well as this $route, which is the current route. So let's check it out. Inside your created method, console log this $route. Let's save, and let's refresh our browser. Now let's go back and look at our terminal. Ah, there it is, the router object. Now let's go back to our browser and show the console. In Chrome, right-click and inspect. Then click on the Chrome tab. Then click on the Console tab. Yep, our console log showed up here as well. But notice it's in there twice. What's up with that? In dev mode, Nuxt shows both the server and the client console logs in the browser, so you don't have to keep on going back and forth in your terminal. See the params property? It contains the name parameter we defined in our file name and has the value we passed from our URL. Let's use this to filter our homes array for the one home we're looking for. Use the find method with an anonymous function to return the home whose ID matches the one we have in our URL. Next, let's show the home's title in our template. To do this, we'll use the data method again. This time, add a property of home with the value of an empty object. Set the home data property to the found home using this.home. Now we can use home.title in our template instead of our placeholder text. And let's save. You should see the new text in your browser now. And we do. Great. Nice job. You made it. We learned a lot about routing, parameters, and how to use those parameters to filter our data. Next, let's add some more details to this page.